We are live. We are live. We are live. Yes, are we live? Yes. The team is nodding. Hey, everybody. Jill Simonian here from PragerU Kids. Hello to our Facebook viewers. I believe we might be on YouTube too. Yes, we are. Okay, Facebook and YouTube. Guess what? We're doing big things today at PragerU because we have the big premiere of The Biggest Bully in School. And yes, many of you may have already seen us sharing the trailers about this short documentary that we do. PragerU does several documentaries per year. This mini documentary is all about the teacher unions. And we're explaining the teacher unions, the corruption that exists in the underbelly of teachers' unions. We are explaining it. We are exposing it. I'm a mom of 2 elementary school kids. Many of you know me from PragerU Kids with all of our children's shows, but our public school system is failing, and I am super excited to be able to talk today with Kali Fontanilla. I'm thinking that many of you probably know who she is. She's the host of this mini documentary. She's a former California public school teacher of 15 years. She resigned after exposing lessons containing critical race theory and promoting Black Lives Matter. And she's the founder of Exodus Institute, which is a K-12 online school with a nationally accredited program. And you can find it at thinkexodus.org. We'll talk more about it later. But for now, the biggest bully in school. Before I bring Kali on to talk about the behind the scenes of filming this, let's take a look at the trailer right now. This is a must watch for all parents. Here we go.
It is about money and power. They have nothing to do with advancing education.
The kids didn't have a voice at the table.
It was all sound bites and lies.
They're hiding the answers from parents like me.
They would protect teachers they knew were bad teachers.
They're sending millions of dollars to left-leaning groups or politicians every year.
I felt that I didn't have a voice there.
They didn't want to listen to us. There's real problems happening with our kids.
They're only working for the union. They're not even working for their teachers.
And there we go, the biggest bully in school. All right, any of you teachers or parents who are watching, please, in the comments on Facebook and YouTube, let us know if you've had any personal experience with these unions. Really quickly, before we intro Kali, let's talk about teacher unions a little bit. We know that they donate to far-left political organizations. Hundreds of millions of dollars in dues collected by the National Education Association and the American Federation of Teachers. And in 2021 alone, in fact, there was an article that just came out, I think it was last week or the week before. In 2021 alone, the NEA spent $66 million pushing far-left political agendas inside and outside of schools, while only spending about $32 million on its members. And those are legitimate numbers that were discovered from the Department of Labor here. So let's bring in, drum roll please, Kali Fontanilla. I need a drum roll. I need a drum roll in this studio. Are you there, Kali? Can we see Kali? We can see Kali. Hi. I got all sorts of screens here. You're there, the audience is there, everything. Okay, first of all, thank you for what you do. We've talked before. You are an incredible teacher for standing up with what's right. You shot this behind the scenes. You interviewed Charlize Bozello, communications director for the Center of Union Facts. You interviewed John Schilling, founder of 2020 Strategies. You interviewed Nicole Solis, the experts and the parents behind that gave us the information in this documentary. But I want to hear a little bit about your story, and I want to share with our audience here your experience as a former California public school teacher. You got in trouble, didn't you?
I'm supposed to still be in the classroom. I'm supposed to be waiting for Thanksgiving break right now, going like, all right, one more day. I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I think we're all doing things that we didn't know we were going to do with everything that's happening right now in this country. And I am very much saddened by seeing the downfall of our public educational system. And a lot of it has to do with the teachers' unions. The teachers' unions are a reflection of our teachers, unfortunately.
Wow. And you yourself experienced being a union member, right?
Well, surprisingly, my 15 years of teaching, I did not join the union.
Wow!
Yeah, I know. But despite massive amounts of pressure, they would come to your classroom. The union members would pressure you. You weren't allowed to go to the secret meetings. You weren't allowed to get the emails and get the inside scoop. You also had the feeling that maybe you weren't protected, and there are other options for teachers. But I did not join the unions, mainly because when I first started, it was $150 a month. And I was starting as a teacher making something like $38,000 a year. And that's a lot of money to give to, and at the time I was left leaning when I started 15 years ago. And I was like, I don't want to give them all my money.
$150 a month is a lot of money. And did you know where that money was going?
And I was still required to pay, but I didn't have to pay my local union dues, but I was still forced to pay $90 a month to the national unions and the state union.
Wow.
And then the state union gives some to the national union. I mean, it's all connected, but now teachers aren't forced to pay from their check anymore, which was criminal because a lot of us don't agree with what the unions are pushing.
Right. And here's the thing, our classrooms, and this is a fact, and you say this in the documentary, these are your words in the documentary, and we encourage everyone to watch the full documentary on PragerU.com, The Biggest Bully in School. If you're just tuning in, you can watch the full documentary. It's about 20 minutes long. It's free on our website, but we're going to start looking at some clips here because classrooms are not politically neutral anymore. They really aren't. And you experienced this firsthand. Let's take a look at this first clip that discusses a little bit of the concept of tenure. And we know that tenure is, this thing where you can't fire teachers. Let's take a look at this next clip. Let me pull it up. And it talks about something known as rubber rooms. Those of you who don't know what rubber rooms are, you're going to find out right now. You ready, Scott? All right, I'm going to play it.
Early in my career, I understood how tenure could protect more senior teachers. But I didn't realize that tenure also protected teachers who put in little to no effort. I spoke with John Schilling, who started his career in the Arizona Department of Education, to get a better picture of just how far unions will go to protect the worst teachers.
Do you think the unions protect teachers that probably shouldn't be in the classroom?
Oh, unquestionably.
I've seen it.
I mean, the process to even get rid of a teacher that has clearly done something wrong is very laborious. There's no question that the union goes out of the way to protect bad teachers.
If a teacher can no longer be in the classroom, they've done something so egregious they can't be around students, but they can't be fired yet. They're in this limbo period. The teachers' unions decided they would send them to these rubber rooms, which was truly just a room where these teachers would go and do nothing all day. And the entire time, they're still getting their full pay and their full benefits.
And the rubber rooms are a direct product of teachers' unions.
Yes, rubber rooms were fully engineered by teachers' unions. The New Yorker did this huge investigation around rubber rooms and found that the average teacher could be in a rubber room for 3 years or more.
The worst of the worst may end up in rubber rooms, but many subpar teachers stay in the classroom. And even if the teacher across the hall is 10 times more effective, their paychecks could be the same or lower.
Okay, let's just pause right there. Their paychecks could be the same or lower. Now, this is evidence of what is a very corrupt system. I admittedly am not a teacher. I think most of our viewers know that, but you have been, and you still are. I have a hard time believing that teachers as a peer group are okay with this concept of not being able to get rid of teachers that are not doing their job. Are teachers okay with this?
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of them are union members themselves. So they just rely on the union, they trust the union, and they rely on the union to represent teachers. The union's loyal to the teacher no matter what, even if they've done something really bad. And that's just kind of like they've accepted that as normal. A lot of these teachers have accepted that as normal. I mean, in my district, we had a lot of teachers that were accused of things or that did something, and the union would go and fight for them, and that was cheered. It was cheered. So this idea that the teachers are actually don't like these other teachers there that shouldn't be there. That actually is not true. I think the majority of teachers that are part of the teachers unions are actually like, oh, good, they're going to represent me when I make these horrible mistakes. And that's just the reality of what's happening right now in America.
And what's happening, unfortunately, it's at the expense of all of our children. Now, when you were in the classroom, did you experience the standard of education decreasing? Did you describe what you experienced in terms of children actually learning at the expense of all of these weird rules and practices that the union does?
So merit-based pay is mentioned in the documentary, where it would reward teachers who do a really effective job at teaching. Well, I was an English teacher, and I used to always do these incredible projects with my students where it was very interactive. I mean, I did a whole health fair in my classroom where the kids studied different health and like had administrators come in and family members come in and go to their booths, and they did these great research projects. And I was told to stop doing that because the other English teachers couldn't, and it needs to be more equitable or equal or whatever. And I needed to lower my standard so that the kids so the kid in this classroom can have the same experiences as a kid in my classroom. And this
terrible.
was a teacher who couldn't manage his kids. Obviously, he just had them on their Chromebooks. And here I am having to shut down these great projects I was doing with my students because of equity or equality. And so there's definitely a lowering of standards, especially of teachers that are really effective.
And it's at the expense of our kids. I'm sorry to hear that. And this is the stuff that us parents really don't know. I don't know this. My sister is a public school teacher, an excellent school teacher, I will say. And we do know that there are excellent public school teachers really trying to hold the line. We know you were one of them, and we know that there are excellent educators out there. But this is tragic. When we call this mini documentary the biggest bully in school, you've been there in the trenches. Are we exaggerating?
No, you're not. You really aren't. The teachers unions have so much power. And there's also, I'm thinking about what if I had still been teaching public school right now while this documentary came out, and how I would be treated. They not only do they have power as an organization, they have power within the schools because of their members. So I am now putting, if I was still teaching public school right now, I am now putting myself against all of the members that are my coworkers.
Yeah.
And they have been sold out on this idea that teachers unions are there to protect them, when teachers unions are really there to protect their own interests, which is usually left-wing stuff.
It's tragic. I want to get to another clip. Speaking of, I did mention bullying, and the title is The Biggest Bully in School. I want to get to a clip of a mother that you interviewed, Nicole, I'm looking at her name right here, Nicole Solis. And she was sued by the Rhode Island NEA for asking for transparency in curriculum, for submitting public records requests, which are completely legal and welcome, and one of our rights as citizens of this country to be able to submit public records requests. The NEA sued her, and I want to hear a little bit from her right now. I just want to find the right time code. Here we go. Oops, there she is. Hold on. Here we go.
You are being legally bullied by the teachers union. Can you share what's happening with that?
So the teachers union is suing me for submitting public records requests about what my kids would be learning in school. Before that happened, actually, my school district, they had a full 5-hour school board meeting where my school board had people speak against me as if they were witnesses speaking against me at trial. They put all of my public records requests on a big screen as if they were admitting evidence against me. It was a real show trial. And to know that this was me that was on trial was like an out-of-body experience. And they were really just trying to publicly humiliate me in a school board meeting. But then 2 months later, the NEA, which is the largest teachers union in America, did sue me. Not only are they trying to carve out a new law for themselves to interfere in the public records request process, I think they were primarily trying to bully me, harass me, and send a message to other parents that they will come after them with frivolous litigation if they advocate for their children in the same way that I did.
Bullied. And hearing that as a mom who used to go to my own former school district's board meetings. And, you know, at one time I actually did sign I don't know what it was officially called, but I did sign a document with a bunch of other parents attesting to the fact that much of our administration was compromised in doing things behind the scenes that were not in fact approved by our school board. And there was a group of us that signed, and there were hundreds of parents who were really just disappointed and disenchanted with what was going on at our particular school at that time. Yet hundreds of parents refused to sign because of this scenario, and they were scared that they were going to get, that they would be vilified by the teachers and the local unions. You're very brave, Kali, in how you have really spoken out about how corrupt the system is. Where do you find your bravery from?
I find it from God, because this is not something I asked to do. I did not ask to do this. I loved being in the classroom. And I think that a lot of people are being pushed into activism right now, and that word even has a negative connotation now, but we do need to be active for our kids. And I'm seeing that it's love for children. I have been teaching for 15 years, and I've seen them suffer under these narratives that are being forced on them, that are being, the teachers unions are behind a lot of these narratives being forced on them. And I'm seeing them destroying our nation's children. They're just more unhappy. They don't like this country, and they're suffering. Yeah, they are suffering, and our country's suffering. And I always hesitate speaking in hyperbole, but around here we really do know in our hearts that if we do not course correct this education system, we are going to lose our country, because we see how many young people now are being swayed to believe and learn lies. And it's not education. It really is indoctrination. And children are not being taught what they ought to be taught. They're not being taught classic literature. They're not being taught civics. They're not being taught financial literacy. We're trying to fill the gaps here at PragerU Kids by creating series and episodes that really equip parents and teachers to teach these fundamentals so that we can have a future of our country. Was there anything that you discovered? I do want to encourage all of our audience right now, watch today, tonight. Listen to it in your car. The Biggest Bully in School, our PragerU short documentary. It's on our website now, PragerU.com. It's free. It's 20 minutes. We shared a few clips with you here. There is so much more information that really is shocking and mind-blowing to me as a mom. Kali, was there anything else in particular that maybe shocked you when you filmed this and interviewed our slate of experts that we had? In the documentary, you will hear from a teacher that was bullied by the union because he stood up against the defund the police movement in LA, because the union actually wanted the police to defund it before the teachers were going to go back into the classroom. That was one of their demands.
Wow.
How does that relate to being a teacher or to, teaching our nation's children? They want the police defunded. And guess what? He is not even someone who considers himself a conservative or right-leaning. He just saw that this is not something he believes in. So I think that this is becoming more than just about one side versus another. This is just really about our nation's children and an organization that has far too much power.
And that teacher was Glenn Laird.
Yes.
That teacher was Glenn Laird. Glenn, if you're watching, we thank you for all you do, and we thank you for your candid conversation in this mini documentary. I want to get now, Kali, let me see, are there any questions? I'm trying to scroll Here's the thing, full disclosure, everyone, when it comes to me doing 12 things at one time, it doesn't always work well, but we're going to try and scroll some of these comments, some of the comments on Facebook. From Helga, I'm so glad my children are grown, but I'm worried about my grandchildren. Children are not being taught the basics anymore. They're being taught to hate America. A lot of people, someone here, Katrine, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. My question is, Katrine asks on Facebook, my question is, why the hell are you putting your kids in this evil? Take your kids out, figure it out. And we do acknowledge that there is a movement to find alternative education options for our children. And I got to say, that's a really great segue because, Kali, you've created, I did not plan this. I literally read the comment on Facebook. But, Kali, you've created an education alternative, and it's called Exodus Institute. Tell us a little bit about it. The website is thinkexodus.org. Is this a homeschool curriculum? What is this? I have it pulled up on my full screen now for people to see. And I'll just poke around the website as you talk.
It's a fully accredited, we have two programs. It's a K through 12 online homeschool for parents that want to pull their kids from public schools. And like I said, God pushed me out of the public school, but he did this for a reason. He wanted me to open up this school. And we have two programs. We have a fully accredited K through 12 program for parents who want a complete replacement and don't necessarily want to do the teaching, because there's a lot of parents like that are like, I want to pull my kids, but I don't want to be the teacher.
Right.
I want to teach, especially when they get older. Do you want to teach geometry and calculus that was, or some of those subjects that but I also believe that parents have a lot more knowledge than they do, and they can also learn alongside their child. So don't be afraid of that. I got my master's in education, but I learned so much more when I was in the classroom being an actual teacher than when I was getting my master's at my woke college that bored me to death.
Right.
So parents, you can homeschool your kids. I know that there's a lot of financial constrictions on that too, but there are ways. If you can't afford our fully accredited program, we also have a supplemental program that's only $20 a month that actually has lessons that counter these leftist narratives, because we need to make sure that we're not just protecting our kids from these narratives, but we're also teaching them how to counter them, because they are the future, and the left is radicalizing their children. So we need to make sure our children are going to be strong enough to stand up to this radical left that's happening right now in all of our nation's schools and public schools. Even the most conservative states or right-leaning states, there's still a lot of teachers pushing a lot of these things. We've had rainbow clubs since the 90s and the 80s, and we just didn't even think anything about that. Kids were meeting with teachers after school at a rainbow club, and we didn't even think, wait a second here. Is that okay for kids to be discussing their gender and sexual identity with teachers? And this was happening before this last 5 years when we finally woke up to it, but this has been happening for a long time. And I think we realized, oh, wow, we've created a monster here and we need to step back. But I think it's a little too late now, and It's time to pull. It's time to pull.
Right. And our goal is that we do want education. We want classrooms to not be politicized. And unfortunately, with the situation concerning our very highly charged politicized unions, teacher unions right now, it's not a reality for us parents to be able to send our children into a non-political classroom. The Biggest Bully in School is our PragerU mini documentary. Watch it. Your eyes will be opened in a most unbelievable way. I got to tell you, I live and breathe this information about what's happening in our school system every single day here at PragerU. And I watched the full documentary a few days ago, and my mind was blown. And there were things included in here that you discussed as the host that our interviewees brought to light that I really had no idea what was happening. This is a must watch for every single parent. The Biggest Bully in School. Kali Fontanilla, thank you for all that you do. You are a guiding light. You are helping and holding our hands figuratively as parents to really find our way through this mess and to expose what the teacher unions really are doing in schools as opposed to what we thought they were doing. That said, check out thinkexodus.org, Kali Fontanilla's home curriculum program. We're always here at PragerUkids.com for parents and teachers to subscribe to get supplemental free videos about America, its history and values. And we wish everyone a great week ahead, and watch The Biggest Bully in School and pass it along. We're going to say bye. Thank you, Kali. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
See you guys next time.